This is the weirdest damn thing I've ever done. In a cage, swinging from above.
I'm Gary, and this is Coasting with Culture, which is all about combining theme park visits and riding roller coasters with various cultural experiences around the world. After getting to fly with a new airline across the Atlantic and enjoying the first evening in Milan, it's time to really get this Italian adventure underway, beginning with a deeper dive into exploring the city and the trip's first amusement park, which may have been the most interesting first coaster experience in a new country. The plan for this Italian adventure would see Rick, Keith, and I meeting up in Milan, and the first morning would be spent visiting a few nearby parks, including Leolandia and EuroPark Milano. Then we begin our drive through Italy by heading toward Lake Garda for stops at Gardaland and Movieland. Then we'd set up a sort of base for the following few days over in Rimini and enjoy the area as we'd visit Mirabilandia and multiple smaller shameless coaster stops. After that would be a bit of a driving day, heading to the other side of Italy, with a stop to explore a bit of Florence and an evening in Pisa, with a few more coasters sprinkled in between. The final stretch of this Italian adventure would take us down to Rome, spending the last few days finding coasters and exploring the Italian capital. Between Rick and Keith's flight cancellation the previous day and the morning weather looking a bit rough with heavy rain, one might be worried that our plans for the first day could be messed up as a result. The odd thing though was that it wasn't the weather that caused us problems, as it only lasted a few hours, and Rick and Keith's new flight would get them into Milan early enough to still make our planned stops. What ultimately hosed us though was that the rental car Rick reserved was no longer available, even though he had gone through several measures to try and notify them about the delay. And as we got to the desk, they said they had no more cars and wouldn't have any more until about 4 hours later, if they even had any by then. So we made our way into town so that they could check into their hotel and see what our options might be. Once a new rental car was located at a city center location, a new plan was devised to spend the afternoon exploring Milan before we'd head to the last park that was planned for the first day. So to go pick up the rental car, I made my way back over to their hotel by way of Milan's classic streetcars I had seen the night before. This was a great way to get from place to place while enjoying the views of the city passing by. Once I got to the stop outside their hotel, we took a walk deeper into the city center. And if there's one thing that really stood out to me about this walk, it was all the really fascinating modern architecture that could be found thanks to its status as Italy's financial hub. Yet even with all that modern architecture that surrounded us here, there were still places to appreciate the older buildings that remain. After getting the new rental car and parking it back at their hotel, we were certainly ready to grab some lunch, which led us over to a nearby shopping center that surrounds Piazza Gaiolenti, where they had a quick-service pasta restaurant called Miss Cusi. A quick-service spot might not have been what I had in mind for my first Italian pasta meal, but it did prove to be a good option to get some food fast, as you place your order on the touchscreen, and it doesn't take long for them to prepare it. Their penne pasta with marinara was pretty good, although the whole earth organic cola that I had with it wasn't anything like I expected it to be, as it tasted less like a cola and more like a ginger ale. After lunch, we were ready to see more of Milan, so we took the subway over to Plaza del Duomo di Milano, home to the incredible Gothic cathedral, which began construction back in 1386 and took nearly 600 years to complete by 1965. Next door to the enormous cathedral is the glass-covered 19th century arcade that houses Galleria, Vittorio, Emanuele, a shopping mall featuring several of Italy's well-known luxury brands, including Prada and Louis Vuitton. While I'm not one for high-end shopping, I could certainly appreciate the luxurious feel to this building. And I also appreciated that it had a fun little tradition involving a mosaic on the floor representing the city of Turin that portrays a bull. While the origin of this tradition is unknown, it's believed that if you put your heel on the bull's, little bulls and spin around 3 times, then you'll have good fortune. always like finding out about these fun little traditions in places like this. Have you done this or something similar in your travels? Share your experiences in the comments section below. If anything became a daily tradition on this trip, it was enjoying that wonderful treat of gelato. And at this gelato shop, located within the mall, I decided to try their watermelon and cantaloupe flavors, which once again were an absolute delight on this hot summer day. The area around the mall is certainly worth a stroll for many fascinating things to see, including more examples of the mixture of modern and classical architecture that Milan offers, as well as statues of historic figures, such as this tribute to the famous Italian inventor Leonardo da Vinci. One spot in particular really caught my attention, as it has the remains of an 11th century church that was built over the ruins of a 5th century church. To end our visit in the heart of Milan, we went back into the mall for dinner at Galleria Cafe, which gave us another opportunity to enjoy some more pizza and pasta. This pizza was also quite good. After catching a little bit of a couple's dance to the music of a local street performer, it was about time for us to head back to the hotel so we could grab the rental car and make our way over to our first coaster stop of the trip, EuroPark Milano Idroscalo. Upon first glance, the park feels more like a permanent carnival, but there were certainly some very interesting experiences to be had here, including our first coaster of Italy, jamming. This unique spinning coaster comes from Barbizon, and while it's not the most intimidating ride, it might have actually been one of our most potentially dangerous rides. The lady who was running it seemed to have been distracted while loading it and trying to give us instructions in Italian, as we don't speak the same language, so she forgot to remove the cable that allows the harnesses to be unlocked when the train is in the station. As she dispatched our train, we could only watch in momentary fear that the cable was going to snap back towards us. Well, the good news was that didn't happen, although the connector at the end of the cable was ripped off, and thus we found ourselves stuck on the ride. That was until the maintenance guy came along and sort of hot-wired the cable to the car's connecting point to trigger the harness to release. Needless to say, we were thankful he was able to get us out. Fortunately, our next coaster was far less dramatic when we took a ride on Bruco Mela, the first of several wacky worms that would happen on this trip. We followed that up with the last and biggest coaster in the park, Starloop, an interpark wildwind that was new to this park at the beginning of the year, after first operating in Greece. This model has a reputation for being pretty jarring, especially in the tight sidewinder element that you go through after the first drop. I don't think it was as rough as I expected it to be, but...
This was a thing. Yeah, it was a thing.
While the coasters were complete, there were two other rides I wanted to check out, as they would certainly fit the Never in America category. One seemed to have been a conversion from an old Condor ride into a mini Starflyer, but some of the chairs were replaced with cages you could stand in while they were raised up and spun around. I do enjoy Starflyer style rides, but I have to admit, it was a really bizarre feeling to be standing in a cage while up there.
This is the weirdest damn thing I've ever done. In a cage, swinging from above. It's kind of nerve-wracking.
Right next door is another standing cage experience, only this time, the cages were on either end of a swinging ship ride. These rides can give some decent floating airtime when you're sitting at the end, but it can be a little bit unnerving to have that same feeling when you're standing up. I was definitely holding on to that cage for dear life. And with that ride, it was time for us to head back to the city center to call it a night. The first day might not have quite started the way we were hoping for, but it gave us a chance to spend some time in a city we weren't originally going to see much of. And I'm thankful for the chance to experience Milan's streetcars, enjoy the blending of incredible modern and classic architecture, and to avert disaster on the first coaster of the adventure. But there'll be much more to come on this Italian journey, including next time when we head to one of the country's most popular parks and enjoy its scenic location. Thank you for watching this video from Coasting with Culture. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and click on the subscribe button to see future videos here on YouTube, like these ones which you may enjoy as well. Additional content can be found at coastingwithculture.com, and you can also follow Coasting with Culture on various social media channels at CoastWCulture for announcements, previews, and updates. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, take care and safe travels.